All know Kevin's my husband. Thanks, Sue. You know Kevin. Kevin's my husband, and I wanted to introduce him to those who don't know him. Um, Kevin has done a lot in business, helping a lot of entrepreneurs, like an offsite CEO, built several businesses. He's done a lot of things that are probably a lot of you don't even realize he's done. And he's like a DL. He's like a quiet storm. You just don't know what's going on back there, and stuff's happening. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, that just happened. So that being said, he is someone who is all about people winning, about helping others go where they want to get where they want to go, building a legacy for people, building something meaningful, and also being very tactical in his approach. He's very, he uses systems to get things done. He also uses people. He has people use systems so they can leverage them. So I'll let him take the floor from here, but I just wanted to give a quick introduction. So a lot of our team don't know him on a personal level, but he's pretty freaking amazing.
So,
Whoop,
pretty, what?
nothing. I just saw it.
Oh, I heard a whoop. So it's pretty awesome when you get your wife to say that about you, right? You guys have no idea what I had to pay to get that done. So, I do thank her, and it's great seeing all of you. And what I want to talk to you guys about today, um, is you, okay? Because you are by far the greatest asset you have. You're the best thing that you have, the best tool that you have to build out and to create whatever it is that you want. And I say that not in a pie in the sky kind of way. It's something that if you've not been around me, Shelley said, some of you kind of know me, some of you don't. Um, I can't tell you how many times I've had clients say to me at the end of a coaching call or a consulting call, is that I bet you felt like you were a therapist today. Okay. And the reason they'll say things like that, and I'm not into talking about people's feelings for the sake about talking about feelings, but I also know that you're the greatest asset you have, and anything that you want to create is going to be done through you. And that requires humans. My point in this is whether we're talking about you or we're talking about you working with clients, is the fact that we get all this done with human beings, and sometimes we have to recognize like what our strengths and what our opportunities are, not necessarily weaknesses, but what our strengths are and where our opportunities are and where we need to focus. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. And I want you, as I go through this, I'm going to share screen in just a minute. I'm going to share with you guys something because Shelly said, like, some of you don't know really what I do, and I've coached and been a consultant for 25 years now. And in doing that, I've worked with not only, I cut my teeth on and have worked with medical and dental practices. So there are operations that are doing anywhere from, say, $1 million a year in revenue to, like, I've got one that I just started with again here recently, meaning they've been a client of mine off and on for a little over 20 years. But their annual revenue right now is about $20 million, and we're working on getting them to about 25. Okay, like that's the goal right now. And the whole idea is to do this with, um, you know, increase the revenue, but do so with less stress. Make it easier. We're not looking to make things harder. Okay. And in doing this, I'm going to tell all of you, you have a greater advantage of things than I do. Okay, because as I work with people, when I'm talking to a gentleman right now, I see him as having all this tremendous opportunity. And I'm going to share with you my typical engagement that I have with clients runs anywhere from about $24,000 a year to $100,000 a year. It just depends on my level of engagement and how much I work with them. But when they sign up with me, there's no guarantee that this is going to work because I kind of vet them to make sure that I know this is going to be a success before I get started. But on their side of things, they don't know. It's like they're making a bet, but they're making a bet on themselves. So when you work with a client, they know what they're going to get. They know when I work with Chris Fritch, I'm going to get a house. When I work with Lee Tessier, I'm going to sell my house. Like they have an outcome. You have that advantage that I don't have. But again, it all comes down to how you guys show up and how you communicate things to your clients. So I'm curious, what do you think? I want to start this out with a little bit of discussion. I'm hoping a couple of you chime in and answer. What do you think is the number one thing right now that's preventing real estate agents from being successful?
Probably the biggest one's time blocking. I don't think any of them time block out what they need to do for the day, so they don't have any structure to it.
Okay, so that's the thing I'm looking for, that's part of it, but it's not the thing I'm looking for. Shelley,
Accountability and activity.
that feeds right into what Jason just said, but still not what I'm looking for. I'll get up and leave.
We can hear you.
Could it be goals?
Oh,
No.
I was gonna say ourselves.
okay, what about ourselves?
Confidence, our self-esteem.
We'll
Our
get to that in a little
mindset,
bit.
our mindset.
Nope. So I'm going to let you all off the hook. Distractions.
Mm.
Okay. That's the number one thing I see right now as being why some people aren't, or many people aren't successful. Okay. This thing right here is the greatest and worst thing we have at our disposal. How many of you find yourself doom scrolling? How many times do you find yourself just doing this throughout the day? Okay. Instead of, you could be literally doing this, dialing. Okay. That's the difference. That right there is the difference. So what Jason threw out there is time blocking. Absolutely. But the question is, like, between phone calls, do you put that thing down? Meaning, like, you don't get on other apps. Shelley.
But do you think that the distractions are just an excuse for the lack of self-esteem, confidence, and accountability? Because I feel like a lot of people do stuff that are easy just because it's easier than doing the work.
Well, again, I think it's a distraction. Okay, meaning, and so I wrote down three. No. I wrote down three things coming into this. Okay, what's the biggest distraction we have? So we have our phones that are a distraction. What's the other biggest distraction that's going on this week?
The news.
The news.
Right. Okay. How is Real and Remax going to affect your business?
Not at all.
Not a damn thing. Okay. And that's what I'm saying. Like that's an example of getting distracted, getting sucked into, oh my God, was it a good deal? Oh my, like all these different things. It doesn't matter. Not a bit of that matters. What does matter is what you're doing to build your own business. So turning that kind of stuff off, and I'll tell you, like, if you watch the news anymore, and I've been, I remember a long, long time ago, I thought to myself, wow, it feels like the news is just really negative, right? And anymore, that's what news is built off of, is negativity, because it's clickbait. It gets people to get sucked into it. And the other thing is, like, if you're listening to certain people, here's a good question. So when you're doom scrolling, would you pay that person for their advice? Because if you wouldn't pay them for that advice, you should be paying attention to their channel. Period. Like, they're not a smart person. And oftentimes it's just their opinion. And I'm throwing these things out. It's not my opinion this morning. Again, all of this, I want you to be thinking about, how do you invest your time every week? Going back to Jason's thing about time blocking. If you were religious about time blocking, you say, I don't have time for distractions. And that's why when Shelley said, don't you think it has to do with some of these other things? Being like self-confidence and what have you. I really do believe if you were to, for example, you can set up limits on your phone to where you can only scroll so often. You can set up limits on your phone to where you can only do things for so long. And if you really want success bad enough, and I'm going to quote my wife right now, if you're ready to get your unfair share, that's what you need to do, is eliminate the distractions in your life. And you'll be shocked at how much you're opening things up for yourself to either do open houses, go meet people, go network, work your sphere, make phone calls, get on social media and comment on people's things, and be authentic. Because I'll tell you, the other thing that I'm gonna throw out here is, don't try to be someone else. Just be you. Because I can tell you right now, if I took all of you right now, some of you might say, well, I'm not as charismatic as this person. I can't tell jokes like this person. I don't have this. I don't have that. Okay. You're focusing on all the negatives as opposed to what you are. And we're going to get to that point in a little bit. but I'm going to use this as my jumping off point to actually go through some content that I put together for you guys today. So what I want to talk about today is your real estate blueprint. So a little bit like what, and this is literally, these are excerpts from an actual booklet that I put together like about a year and a half ago. So if you guys want it, I'll have it distributed out to all of you. It would literally be the kind of thing that you could build out your goals, look at what you're successful at. This is literally just a taste of, if I was going to coach someone, this is a taste of what I would sit down and talk to them about, which is in that booklet. And this could, for example, if Lee's team wanted to use it and sit down and work through it, or Chris's team, LePage Johnson, if any of you want to take that booklet and truly turn it into an exercise of how you build your business, I'll have it distributed. So today, what I'm going to talk about is basically the DNA of a top producer. So if you remember, in the last meeting, I hosted it when Brent was here. And Brent was just like, he was on fire and he was throwing a bunch of stuff out there, but I started taking notes. I started taking notes on, you know, because I didn't think there was a kind of thing that would resonate with everybody, or maybe it didn't stick. That's not the right word. Maybe it didn't stick. So I want to talk about the DNA of a top producer. There's 12 attributes that I wrote down. We're going to talk about revenue producing activities, a strategy matrix, because I want you to audit, again, how you spend your time, and then systems and accountability. And hopefully I won't get so long-winded that I don't leave time for Q&A. But that said, as I walk through, if any of you have questions, feedback, throw up your hand. In fact, you're probably better off because you're all like this big on my screen. So if you do have questions, you might need to just like unmute and yell out. So with that said, we're going to talk about the DNA of a top producer. So when I think about people, and I'll take Shelly, I'll talk about her since she's on the call. When she started out in a small brokerage up in Maryland, moved to another small brokerage in North Carolina, moved to KW, and then ultimately now with EXP. When she did all that, there was one specific way she built all her business. The total strategy was Shelly Johnson. That was it. People liked her. Okay. Now, how do people like and respect you? Okay. So when I go through these 12 things, and I'm hoping you write all these things down. I want you to write down each and every one of these things, because I want you to also give yourself a score on these. Score yourself on a 1 to 5. But here's the deal. I want you to write this down on how you think the public perceives you. How does your sphere perceive you? It's not what you think, it's what other people think of you, because that is your brand. That's how you'll have someone that they can have the greatest and best CRM, they can have the greatest and best technical skills, but someone who has these 12 things will beat a techie person all day long. All the CRM is there to do is to remind you who you're supposed to talk to. But these things, for example, confidence. So when you get on the phone with a new lead, do you sound tentative? Okay. And if you guys don't do this, I did this in a Impact Facebook post a couple months ago. Okay. If you're serious about how you come across, if you want to audit yourself on these 12 things, I want you to make a chat, and it said, I want you to record your phone calls. You can literally just take a Plaud, P-L-A-U-D, or any kind of device that does voice recording, and you can record yourself doing new client calls, new lead calls. Take those, upload those, for example, into ChatGPT or Claude, and tell it that you want it to grade you on each one of the 12 things I'm going to talk about. Do you sound like you're confident? Because when you're dealing with someone who's interested in spending $500,000 on a house, they want someone who's confident. Okay. And sometimes confidence looks like telling people maybe when they're wrong. It looks like I know what I'm talking about. It looks like I have market knowledge. It looks like just the way in which you use your voice is going to exude confidence. You can say something that's completely wrong, but if you sound confident, it sounds good. That's how politicians get by, guys. They can say wrong stuff all the time, but as long as they say it confidently, that's what matters. how do you show up for a leader? How do you show up for a transaction and how do you show up for a client? So you have to remember you are the leader. You're the central person. You're like a CEO for this client and that transaction. You're there to go in. If they say, I want to live in Falston, I want a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. I want. And in a sense, like you take control of that transaction and you say, okay, here's what's going to be available to you in your budget rate. Like you're taking control and again, acting like the CEO for this thing. And then when it comes time to write, okay, you're leading them and not ask, you need their opinion on things, but to not waste their time and not waste your time, not to waste anyone else's time. Sometimes you may need to lead them in how that contract needs to be written, what needs to be done to get the offer accepted. Okay. And it's like, yeah, you can try things, but you need to show up as a leader that you're leading this transaction. And that sometimes means you may have to call the other agent and lead them. Okay. Magnetic energy. That's one of those things, like I always talk about Shelly. She can walk into a room, she can walk into a room of 50 people, she will minimally walk out with 5 to 10 new friends. That's just her energy. That's the kind of thing she has. Okay. And we'll tell you, all of you, whether you're not going to look at this whole list of 12 things and say, I'm a 5 out of 5 on every one. You're not. But if you can stack the deck in certain areas, you will win. Okay. Solutions oriented. This is the other thing that I've told a lot of folks. People who solve problems make money. Okay. I was coaching a builder a couple of years ago and I was looking at them and they were complaining about certain things. And I said, you know, Shelly and I have built a couple of houses. We've renovated one now. And I said, personally, the way I look at building a house is it's just 6 months to a year worth of screw ups that constantly get fixed. And then you end up with a really nice house because the guy that pours the foundation, the next guy that comes through and pours the foundation walls, or the next guy that comes in that is now having to put the plate on top of the foundation, finds things that were done wrong with pouring the foundation. The framers will do things and they'll have walls that are bowed and then now the sheetrock guys have to come in and fix it. Everything is solutions oriented. Okay. So when someone wants to sell a house, but they want to stay in it for a while, or if they want to rent back, they want to do different things, it's all solutions oriented. How do I have to get this transaction to the settlement table? Because it's going to benefit you and it's going to benefit your client. The other thing in this is being a true connector. And again, all these things that I'm talking about, a lot of this came up in Brent's talk last time, but I wanted to take and expand on it because if you can get yourself to a 5 out of 5 on most of these things, you're literally going to be unstoppable. So true connector, what I'm getting at is, are you known by your client as being the guy or the girl who literally they've got someone for that? You ever heard that phrase, I got a guy for that? Okay. I got a guy or a girl for everything. You need to have that list, and your team may already have that list of say, approved the vendors or somebody like that. You've always got someone for that. And even if you don't, call them, vet them, figure it out. Being known as that kind of person, that's just, to me, being part of being a solutions oriented kind of person. You don't introduce people to your client in a transaction that's going to make it stressful. So then the other is positive attitude. I'm just curious, just to get some feedback from LePage Johnson over there. Have any of you ever had a bad transaction?
How many?
Many.
How many?
Okay. So I'm curious, what do you think it has more bearing on solving a problem? What do you think is the biggest influencer?
Attitude.
It's how we react to the problem. That's literally, and again, I'm wanting you to take all 12 of these things, and I want you to gauge it based on how the public, your sphere, your family, your friends, how they see you. Okay. So when a problem comes up, how do you react to it? Now, mind you, like Jennifer Reiser, She might drive to a secluded part of the lake, roll her windows up, turn the radio all the way up, and just scream to the top of her lungs and lose it. Okay? I don't really know that about her, but I'm having fun. But she might go do that to like vent. All right? But when the public sees you, they need to be like, not a problem. That's what they need to see out of you. Not a problem. Happens all the time. We deal with
Kevin, I think you were following me yesterday.
Oh yeah?
You were following me yesterday.
Look, we all have it. When you're a problem solver, this is what happens. Like, you tell a client don't go do this, and they go do it. You have an agent on the other side that doesn't do their job. You might have to go somewhere and scream to the top of your lungs to lose it, but the public only sees you as having a positive attitude about everything. Not a problem. We'll take care of that. I got a guy for that. Like, that's what they need to hear from you all the time, because you're the leader. So some other things, the other 6 things as part of this list of 12, is sense of urgency. Sense of urgency in the sense of we got to get this done. We got to get this written. We have to get this under contract. We have to get this listed. Like, even when you show up for a listing appointment, the sense of urgency that you demonstrate while you're there is part of your marketing. Okay, because again, as we're going through these 12 things, if you move the needle on half of these, okay, this will be some of the best marketing you can have, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So your sense of urgency when you show up to list a house, we might be hesitant to say or do certain things because we don't want to drive them off. We don't want to sound bossy. We don't want to, but people, in a sense, that's how they want their agent to show up. They want their agent to show up and act like they have a sense of urgency. I'm going to take control of this. And, it depends on how you communicate this to that person. So if you showed up and said, look, if you told me today you're ready to go, the first thing I would be doing is this. The next thing I would be doing is this. The next thing I would be doing with this, because it shows, again, like I just did a trial close, if you will. I just said, if you told me today you're ready to list, this is where I would have us prioritize and focus on getting your house listed. Okay. That's a sense of urgency. That's taking control. That's taking leadership of that listing. Does it not sound like I was also being a little assertive?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not going over there and kicking rocks and saying, maybe someday, what if, that kind of thing. I'm being assertive. That's what they want. You're representing one of the biggest transactions. You guys, I know I'm not the first one to ever say this to you. You are representing one of the greatest transactions they'll ever have, the biggest asset they'll ever have. And you need to be assertive. This is the kind of person, like if you had to go to a doctor, let's just say you had something that was going on, okay, and you're having to go see a specialist. Do you want someone that is not assertive? Do you want someone who is afraid to hurt your feelings? No. You want someone that looks at you and says, look, if you want this fixed, or if this is what the real problem is, this is what you need to know. That's the kind of person you want when you go see a specialist. And if you don't see yourself as a specialist, we need to work on that too, because that's what you guys are. You're a specialist within the real estate world. I'm going through these 12 things because I want you looking at yourself like you are a specialist, not just one of the other 6 realtors that everyone knows. Like, you gotta like show up like that. The next is being a good communicator. And being a good communicator sometimes looks like over communicating, which you feel like might be. And even if it's as simple as, I'm checking in with you, I'm wanting to make sure you're looking through the houses, I'm wanting to make sure my emails are showing up. You don't, from your perspective, you want to look at it like, I've not left a stone unturned. And even if you're wondering whether there's a misunderstanding with a client, you reach out and make sure there isn't one. They'll respect you for it. Okay. You need to look at yourself as literally, again, if you have to over communicate, if that's the worst thing they can say about you, you're doing good. Okay. being optimistic. So in this market, okay, if you showed up for a listing, your client might be doom scrolling. Your client might be saying, oh, well, I'm watching I need to sell my house. I want to sell my house, but I've been watching the news. Everybody can watch the news. Everybody can get all the negativity they want. But when you can turn around and say, did you know in the month of March, X number of homes sold in the Charlotte region? Can you say in, the Northeast corridor of Maryland, X number of homes sold? That's what optimism looks like. Tie it back to data. Tie it back to what you're going to do to sell the house. That's the kind of thing that makes you look optimistic. It's part of what it looks like showing up as a leader. Then there's perceived effort. And this kind of ties back to communicator. So on LePage Johnson team, a couple years ago, we went through and we created a 138-point listing method. Because what is the number one gripe about listing agents?
They just put a sign.
They put a sign in the yard.
And what?
Wait.
Wait.
They put a sign in the yard and they just wait for their commission check. They don't do squat. Okay. The perceived effort part is, again, like if you show up to do a listing presentation, break out that 138-point listing method and say, this is what we do. By the way, you probably didn't even know. In fact, here's a little strategy. If you're not doing this now, start doing it. Before you go to a listing presentation, send them an email or a video that says, before we meet on Tuesday at 3 p.m., this is what I'm doing to prepare for our meeting. What I'd like you to do is do these things to prepare for our meeting. Okay. So in a sense, like that's already demonstrating perceived effort. It means I'm not just like showing up and pulling things out of my backside and fitting this into my schedule. I've done work before I even showed up. How many of your clients actually know that you pulled you pulled the MLS listings, you've pulled comps, you've pulled other information before you even show up? If they don't know that, you're going to assume you've done nothing. Okay, so there's a thing about perceived effort that we need to lean into. And then the other is being entrepreneurial. And to me, every one of you, whether you're on a team or not, you run your own business. You are the asset. You are the CEO. You are the marketing, every bit of it. And you have to think of this like I'm running a business. And we'll go back to some of the things that were said in the beginning. If you don't have goals, you need to have goals. If you don't have an execution plan, if you don't have a schedule that supports your goals, those are all things about being entrepreneurial. But it's also figuring out, for example, and I know this because when I talked to Hunter last, he said, I need to move my price point. I'm doing very well selling houses in the price point that I'm in, but I need to move it. I need to change my price point and start thinking about selling houses that are maybe even double what I'm selling now, maybe more. Okay. So that's what it looks like to be entrepreneurial. So what I would ask all of you to do is record 5 phone calls that you have with clients, brand new leads to clients that you're working with. Create a chat, prompt that says, I want you to gauge me on all 12 of these criteria. And I want you to grade me. I want you to grade me on each one of these on a scale of 1 to 5 and tell me where I've done well and where I need to improve. I guarantee you, if you continue recording yourself with these phone calls, you will sharpen that axe. You'll do great. Okay. And so that's kind of where I was talking about there. So this one, revenue producing activities. Again, we can get into distractions. We can talk about all kinds of different things, but if you're not focusing on the things that are going to put you at a closing table, they need to come off your schedule. Okay, like don't be the expert at the small things. You got to focus on the big things that only you can do. So first and foremost, and this right now, it says make contact. Even if any one of you, if you made 10 meaningful phone contacts, I'm not even going to say phone calls, 10 meaningful contacts per day. If you were a Monday to Friday kind of person, you've made 200 reach outs in a month. And for some of you, you might think, that's a really good number. So I had 2,400 or and 2,400 reach outs per year. Okay. Sounds great. But I know someone that, they make 100 a day until they sell houses. So in some respects, 10 sounds great, but if you want it bad enough, that's all you do is meaningfully reach out to people. And I will tell you, if you guys, another little, I'm gonna call it pro tip if you want, how many of you use Zoom to talk to your clients or FaceTime?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes, always.
So my big reason for that is phone is great, but when I get to talk to people on Zoom, I'm reading body language. I'm looking at how much they're really interested in what we're talking about. If I see someone who they're starting to gloss over, I'm going to stop and pump the brakes, and I'm going to ask, because if there's someone that's like, what we're talking about is a foregone conclusion, I'm going to move on. Okay, I don't want to waste their time. You can read people much better when it's in person, but we don't have to actually go to a coffee shop or go have lunch or whatever it is. We don't have to do that. Zoom or FaceTime is literally one of the greatest tools you can do. And some of you may have done it for showing a house, doing a preview or something like that. But for just like introductory calls to get to know someone, to have a better relationship with them, try to get them on Zoom or FaceTime, because you can accelerate that process. They'll get to know and see you as well. So I see a hand. Shelly, you have a hand?
Yeah, I was just going to say that Brent Gove lives by this, and he's one of the most successful people I've ever met in business, period. And literally, it doesn't matter if it's just talking to myself. I probably talked to him 4 times yesterday. 2 of those 4 times we had a FaceTime, always. He never just sits on the phone and talks to somebody. If he can avoid it, if he can't avoid it, and he even does it in the car, like he may look goofy, like the worst angle ever. He does not freaking care. And it makes you feel like you had one-on-one time with him when you haven't. So I've noticed it makes a big impact. I do it all the time. Too, and I've gotten over the fact that I don't look the way I need to look. I don't really care anymore. It's just it's that important. It moves the needle that much faster with people when you have face to face. So if you can have that face to face with your client and you're having a difficult conversation, that's when you actually can get them to like see you, that you care, the empathy in your voice, the empathy in your eyes. You can see that you took the time to take the FaceTime call. It feels almost in person. So I just wanted to share that.
100%. And another way to think about utilizing, again, FaceTime or Zoom is have any of you ever had a transaction where you have a couple or even when parents or a second party, like parents or kids, and it could be role reversal there, but you have more than one party involved, but they have differing ideas of what good looks like. Maybe, possibly. Okay, that's another great thing, because if you get a husband and wife on a Zoom call, doesn't matter if they're in the same room or not, but if you're going through the list of options that you might go look at on a Saturday, and normally if you're going through them and saying, okay, we're going to go to 123 Main Street, we're going to go to 457 Smith Street, we're going to go to these, and if you see one of the couple rolling their eyes when you're going through some of them, then you stop and you say, okay, and it doesn't matter if it's him or her, but you stop and you ask that person, what's your thoughts on that house? Like, just accelerate the inevitable. Do you want to drive all over, Charlotte, or you want to drive all over Minnesota looking at houses that it's just not going to happen? This is what it looks like for you guys to show up as a leader. Follow-up is another big one. It's not just the first phone call, it's staying with them. If I were to survey everyone on this phone call right now, every one of you has stuff going on. Okay, I can tell you, and it doesn't have to be bad stuff. Hunter had a lot going on right before he got married. It was a lot of stuff going on, right? And he's trying to keep everybody happy. He's trying to show up for his wedding. He's trying to make sure that everything's, bags packed to go on vacation, all that kind of stuff. If someone had called and introduced something new to him, talked to him, what have you, what do you think the likelihood is that he even remembers after he got back from his vacation, his honeymoon? Probably somewhere between 0 and 1. Okay. So everyone has stuff going on in their lives. Don't be afraid of follow up. Just do it. Because there are people that they go through seasons. You're going to have somebody that's all in with you, and then something happens in their life and you have to keep going. That's why you always have to be working multiples of leads at all times, because you're going to have someone that shows up, seem like they're hot to trot, and then suddenly they just start ghosting you. And it could be that their parents fell ill. You're not a priority anymore. And that's why you need another 5 leads behind them that you've been talking to, and 5 more and 5 more. So another little pro tip, I kind of alluded to it earlier. Before you go to a listing, send them a video message. When you're getting ready to meet someone on a Saturday, send them a video message. This is the kind of stuff that sets you apart from other people. It allows them to see you, hear you. It differentiates you from everyone else. So when I say add value, your expertise is what sells. It's how you earn your commissions. And every now and then you're going to need to let people get a little taste of it. You're going to need to give people a little taste of all those 12 things that I talked about. You provide that to other people, and they get that taste, and then they're going to say, I need to call Sue. That's how that works. And back to Jason's point, we always be closing, always be prospecting. That's one of the things that we need to do. So when you think about what could your schedule look like, okay? And you could go through and say, okay, on Monday, and you could differentiate this, meaning you could mix it up throughout your day and double up on some of these things. But you could say, Monday, I'm going to do nothing but database and prospecting calls. You can do on Tuesday, I'm going to do follow-ups, but I'm also going to do video messages. Maybe you do some videos. Since you're doing video messages, you do videos that you're going to use for your marketing, because you've already dolled yourself up. You look pretty, and you're ready to do more videos. So just work it in there. So content and marketing authority, you can do your referral partner outreach. So one of the biggest things, again, one of the biggest things in the news is the fact that the real estate market is not what it was a couple of years ago. Okay. So a lot of people, when we hear all these things about realtors exiting the market, realtors getting side hustles, realtors doing all, so that in a sense, like, people start generalizing. You need to demonstrate to your sphere and the community that you are an active real estate agent. I'm in this. This is my profession. This is what I do. So it's what they call it is basically social proof. Even if you drive through a neighborhood, it's like you and your spouse might be going to dinner one night. It's like, you know what? I've not been in this neighborhood in a while. Video yourself doing it. Post it. Okay. It was just a little side trip, but it demonstrates that I'm just previewing this neighborhood, always love this monument, how they landscape out here, blah, blah, blah. It shows that you're actually working as a real estate agent. You do open house prep. It's funny. Again, when Shelly started in Charlotte, she made such a big deal about open houses. And when other people would do open houses, she's like, you need to do it my way. You would not believe, like, she got super specific about sign placement and balloons. Like, and for example, if I was sent out to put out the sign and the balloons, if it wasn't done right, she'd go fix it herself. Okay. She's like, it had to be done the right way. But the point is, we don't just like show up last minute and say, okay, I'm here for an open house, and nothing happens. Like, make sure you're doubling up on all of it. Shoot content when you're doing an open house. Make sure you're like doing a house preview when you're doing the open house. Social proof that you're acting like a real estate agent, because people want a professional to show up for them. And yes, it might sound like grind, everything I'm talking about. No, you need to make time for yourself. And one of the things that I frequently share with people is that when I used to lead and manage a really big team of, we had an entire team of consultants, and then all the support team, marketing department, all this kind of stuff. I managed all of it. And there were times where I looked at a few different people and I said, you're going to bring me by Friday, you're going to bring me your vacation schedule for this year, where you're going to burn your PTO, or I'm going to actually have your termination letter. It's your choice. And it took a lot of people by surprise when I did that. But the reason being was I was looking at how they were starting to show up for their clients. I was looking at how they were starting to show up to other people. And it's like some of them were starting to turn toxic. Some of them, it's like their identity became negativity. Like everything was a problem. Everything was an issue. Every person they encountered was a pain in their backside. Okay. So you do need time to fill your bucket. You need time to work out. Take, if you don't have a hobby, I really recommend getting one. Because if you don't have a hobby, you got nothing else in your life. You need to find time for rest and growth so you can be a better person, and then you can be a better person for your family, which is the most important. And then you can be a better person for the community as a real estate agent. So where can some of your leads come from? And again, there are some people that can literally just work cold leads. They're a machine when it comes to dialing for dollars. They will convert cold leads into sales, and they kill it like that. Some people, they do everything through sphere of influence. Pick a few of these and just do it really, really freaking well. This is the kind of thing where I say, again, distractions. You can go listen to a bunch of people, and maybe someone is great at phone prospecting, but if you're not the greatest at that, don't do it. If you're great at working your sphere, lean 100% into that. If you're great at working referrals, lean into that. Okay, this is what I'm saying. You need to capitalize on what you're great at right now. You can build some of the other stuff later. We're not going backwards. All right. So this is another exercise that I want you to do, because if you can't get this across to your client, no one else is going to do it for you. Okay. What is your unique value proposition? I don't care if you're brand new. Okay. I think Lee has sold a few homes in his lifetime. Okay. But that's not the only unique value proposition he has. Okay. Like he might, and I don't know what he says when he goes to a listing presentation, but he might say, I literally treat this like it's my house. I treat this like it's a business deal. Okay. Like I'm only going to make smart deals, and you're the smart deal I'm making. Okay. One of the things that I say to a lot of my clients is that I am like a Swiss Army knife. I might not be the greatest tool for absolutely everything, but I'm good for a lot of freaking things. Okay. And you need to come across like that to your client, but you need to know what those things are, because again, you're either going to tell people when you meet them, and that could be your new client, that could be a referral partner, that could be someone else in the industry, that could be the community when you do your marketing that I'm talking about. You need to get these 5 unique value propositions to come across. So one of you might sit in front of a computer and just absolutely geek out. In fact, I know, not saying Craig sits behind a computer and geeks out, but one of the things when he and Shelly got together, there were not many people in the Charlotte area that I think knew the Charlotte region as well as Craig, because he would go to every community and he would video every community and put it on a website. And the only way he could do that is through knowledge of actually doing it. Okay. Some of you might use ChatGPT or Claude and just pull up all this information. You might get the MLS information that's sent to you once a month. You might know that data forwards and backwards. Demonstrate it. Make sure the public knows that. That's what I'm talking about. If you're a great connector, if you're a great negotiator, okay, that's what when you go back, and this is where I want you to list out your 5 unique value propositions. And then I want you to go beta test this. I want you to then go to your spouse or your partner, your family, your best friend. I want you to go to maybe even if you have a short list of really trusted past clients, I want you to give it to them. It's like if you were to say, I have 3 to 5 really valuable, unique value propositions, what would you tell someone else about me? What would you say about me when I'm not standing there? Okay. What other people say about it? Because some of you might think, we all too often we tend to underestimate our capabilities and underestimate ourselves. And other people might see certain things as being an absolute strength, and we don't. Okay. And this is why I want you to go through this exercise don't turn it into an academic exercise, but I'm talking about like an exercise where you get this thing dialed in and then you lean into it really hard. Because I can tell you right now, there's at least 10 of you on here that you have unique value propositions that you're not leaning into. Minimum 10. So when we go through this strategy matrix, I only have this here. It's also part of the book or the booklet that I've got, is that there are certain things that should be easy wins for you. And then there are certain things that they're a heavy lift and not a lot of ROI. Okay. So for example, if you put on a client event of your own, okay, you're going to spend a lot of time and money just getting ready for it. You're going to spend a lot of money on the day of it. But the question is, are you really getting the traction that you want? So if, the opportunity cost is, if you put on and did something, would you be better off taking that same time and money by reaching out to clients or putting on something different? The things that you want to do when you think about having marketing strategies for your own business within your team is we want to avoid all the resource pits. We don't want to just like be an expert in stuff that isn't going to have no ROI. But why not, for example, like it costs you nothing. Oh, I'm sure all of you are on unlimited phone plans. It costs you nothing to pick up the phone and call 10 people or 100 people. It costs you nothing to send text messages. It costs you nothing but to be able to like comment on people's social media posts. So being able to do that, even posting once a day on social media to show people you're the person they want to hire, costs you nothing. Just a little bit of time, okay? So it's just a way to audit yourself and say, am I really investing my time the right way? So and you guys will get the slide deck. I'm not going to read this word by word, but there are things that you can set up to where when you put someone into your CRM, your database, they should be getting automated emails that leverages your time. Okay. I'll even throw something else out there. How many of you know that, or how many of you already use a feature on your phone where you can send delayed text messages? So for example, if I talk to someone who's, if I meet someone out and they say, oh, by the way, did you hear it's George's birthday on Tuesday? Or let's say Friday, because today's Tuesday. It's George's birthday on Friday. I can today go in and create a text message and hit delay and then make it send out first thing Friday morning, wishing him a happy birthday. If I went and met a client and my listing presentation went really well, or we saw homes, I can set up a delayed text message. While I'm thinking about it right now, I can create that message, delay it, maybe have it sent out the next day. That's like when I was talking earlier about over communicate, be present, use these tools to your advantage. Again, these things are our greatest and worst tool. Don't use it as a distraction, use it as a way to leverage your efforts. So, when you think about our medium effort, high ROI, and really the focus here is high ROI, it's not just about doing an open house, but it's the frequency. So if you guys want to write this down, this is a concept I talk to clients about all the time and something that I shared with somebody yesterday that's trying to grow their business. Okay. Strategy multiplied by time multiplied by intensity equals success. Okay. So if you have no strategy, but you sit down and invest the time, it's literally like a rudderless boat. Or a boat with no steering wheel. You can hit the gas as much as you want, but we have no idea where this thing is going to go. We need to have strategy. So you got 5 things that you lean into and do really, really well. And you outwork the competition by investing enough time. And you hear Brent all the time talk about massive action. That's what I'm talking about with that one. There are some people that, again, you can make 10 phone calls a day, but there's no way you could make even, I'm going to say 40 meaningful contacts a day for a month and not be going to a closing table. There is no way. Okay. You could say the wrong things to people. They're still going to hire you. But if you're making 40 meaningful contacts a day, you will sell homes. Shelley, is that a raised hand?
It's 10 minutes, Kevin.
I'm getting there. I'm almost at the
I
end.
promise them we'll be done at 11. That's all.
I know that. You told me that beforehand too. I'm watching the clock too. So this is systems and accountability. See, Shelley was keeping me accountable. And so systems and accountability, I don't want to overthink this. Find whoever you feel like you're okay getting you're getting feedback from. Okay. So if you're literally, all of you are on teams. So being able to go to your team lead, going to your coach, there are people that might pair up with somebody else who's also a strong player on the team. You have like-minded thought process and like-minded kind of goals. Get together and be accountability partners. Talk about your success. Talk about the activities. Talk about the things that you're doing, the time that you're investing, and the results that you're getting. Okay. Just have an accountability partner, somebody that you're talking to once or twice, or I'm going to say, I'll just put it this way. More frequency will get more out of this. But when you're going through it, you can go through, like, again, the number of phone calls that you've made, how many contacts you've added to your pipeline, talking through, you can do a quarterly review, but I think more frequency is going to move the needle for you. And then there are some questions here. Again, I'm not going to read through absolutely every one of these, but again, if you're making 40 meaningful contacts per day, there's no way you're not going to end up at a table, because you're going to be sharpening your skills along the way. But even if you're still not getting the results that you want, then with your accountability partner, your coach, your team lead, you'll be able to find out how we correct. Because maybe, again, maybe you do a little role play, and I know that's not everybody's most favorite thing to do. But if you do a little role play, it might be, oh, well, you're killing it at the very end. Like, you did a fantastic job all the way through, and then you said, go think about it. You didn't ask her to the prom. Like, you did all the work and then never asked her to the prom. So that's why I'm saying go through. That's where accountability partners, your team and your team leads, your coach, all of them should be there to help you move the needle with this stuff. So I want you guys to make some commitments, but the only thing I really want you to do with commitments is I want it to be actionable. I don't want it to be feel good kinds of things. I want it to be the kind of thing that puts fire in your belly and makes you think, like, I'm going to freaking crush it this year, and I'm going to get my unfair share. Okay? So Shelley said I need to wrap this up at 11. So I've done all my slides, and I can edit this slide to make it say here. We'll make it accurate now. 5 minutes of Q&A, unless anyone wants to stay over. So that being said, I know I was kind of like, I had a little dialogue going on with you guys today, but as I went through it, did I leave you with questions, or did I leave you with anything you wanted me to elaborate on or talk more about?
I'm working on my 5 unique value propositions.
If you can't rattle those off, and do all of you agree it feels weird sometimes to talk about yourself?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I do too. I'm not gonna lie to you. It feels weird at times, but if you can't do it yourself, no one's going to do it for you. You're literally about the only person in the world that can tell someone else what your unique value proposition is. So when you think about your first interaction, if you want to avoid the I have a really big ego and boy, I'm really full of it kind of like perception that you might have of yourself, you could turn around and say, well, a couple of things that clients have told me that they appreciate about me is, make it sound like, and I'm not saying lie to people, I'm saying start there and share with them. If you've been to the closing table more than a few times, then share what clients have said about you. And don't always wait for a closing table to ask for a review or ask for feedback, because you might literally go to a listing presentation and someone may say to you, I've listed and sold a few homes and I've never had someone this thorough. I've never had someone actually ask me what I want. I've never had anyone that actually acted like they're going to take charge of my transaction. Okay. Whatever they're giving you, don't wait to the end. In fact, it may seem weird. Start thinking about asking for testimonials before the closing table. Because once you get to the closing table, like you've been through everything, but in the moment, that's where you get great testimonials, is in the moment. If they say to you, man, I really value you because of this. They say, April, I really value you because of this. Ask for that testimonial right then and there. It's fresh in their mind. You don't have to get all the way to the transaction or the settlement table for that. So it's 11:56. I still have 4 minutes of Q&A.
Lee, did you have anything you're thinking about with your team as far as like, I know you guys do a lot of what Kevin's talking about, you and Chris both. Is there anything that you're like, that stood out to me that I wish we focused more on, or something you felt like could be instrumental in helping like move the needle for you guys?
What I said to Zach sitting across from me, I was like, you have your elevator pitch, the 30 seconds, which are your 5 things really. It's like, you got to be able to, when you're in front of somebody and you're meeting them for the first time, it's like, hey, exchange, like, what do you tell them about yourself? Or like, hey, this is what I do. Because that way you get buy-in. You also get them to be interested in asking more questions about stuff, rather than like, it's like a humble brag, but also giving them a little bit more idea of what you do. Like when I'm in Florida, if somebody says something to me like, hey, what do you do? I was like, I have a real estate company. We sell about 500 homes a year. We have a title company. We invest in real estate. We have rental properties, and we have a property management company. And they're like, oh, and then they start like, that's all I have to say. And then they start asking questions. They're like, oh, well, tell me more about this or whatever. Like, oh, or how's the market? Like people always want to know what's going on in the market. Number one question is, what's your home worth? So go ahead, Shelley.
Typically, like your team has permission to say, yeah, I sell 500 homes a year. The team takes the ownership of what you all have created together, and it becomes theirs, and that's their elevator pitch effectively.
Yeah.
We have a this, we have a that, right? We do this. Like, I mean, that's going to create that curiosity, because anytime you say that you sell 500 homes a year, people are like, what? Or
Yeah.
or I have a rental portfolio, or I have this and I have that. I mean, they want to know more, because they want to do that too. They want to do the same thing. And they like, oh, this guy has the keys to the kingdom. Let me figure out how to get in his knowledge base.
And even if they're not in the real estate world or
Yeah.
dealing with transaction, they're still interested. It's like,
Right.
it's interesting in general. So I think that's why there's such a big attraction to the field, and just not enough people stick with it. But it's the activities where Kevin came back to is like, what are activities that we're doing on a regular basis that have to be done no matter what the market is? Like I think of where my biggest growths were, like 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, when the market sucked, because it was, you were like, blinders were on. This is what I'm doing. I don't care what the rest of the world's doing. This is what I'm doing because this is what my needs are to take care of my family.
Correct.
When you guys do that, amazing what can get done. Because Kevin talked about in the beginning, what's the distractions? And there's so many freaking distractions, but when you go up blinders on, and here's my focus, it's not here, it's here, amazing what you can accomplish. You just have to figure out what your focus is. Without that, you're not telling your brain anything what to chase.
Right.
But I
Because
think
your brain will, like the power of proximity. Sometimes I'm around people that I really, really love being around, because it just levels us up. There's other people I go, I need to spend less time with these people because they bring me down. And not that I don't love them, but they're not going to take me where I want to go.
Yeah.
And, and it's like you said, like those blinders, if you believe something's a true story, that's a true story. If you believe it's not, then it's not a true story.
So Hunter, can I put you on the spot for a minute?
Sure can.
About how many houses did you sell last year?
Like 6.
Okay. And how new are you into the game?
This is the start of my third year.
Okay. And but you were literally in you were transitioning in, like you kind of did a little bit of a soft start, and now you're kind of like an all in type thing while you're going to college, while you're getting married, while you're doing a lot of other stuff. Right. And the reason I'm bringing Hunter into this is like, he's essentially like brand new. Okay. He's selling homes. You get on social media. If you guys have not been on his account yet, go look at his Instagram account and look at, there's no way you could get on his Instagram account and question whether he's a real estate agent or not. Okay. And he's going to sell homes. He's already, like I said earlier, he's looking at changing this price point, looking at different homes. He's doing the things. And it's kind of going back to what Shelly and Lee were just talking about. No distractions, do the work. It's an investment in your future.
Doesn't matter what's happening.
And he was doing National Guard, working a job, going to school full time, by the way, and selling real estate. 4 things, and dating a new girl, which is a lot of work. And then getting engaged. And working out.
Yep.
We're like eliminating those other, like not the girl, but the other like distractions.
Well, there's other things eating up bandwidth in his life, managing it all. But he got a real estate career started and rolling. He's brand new in it in a market that is seemingly tough. So, I would highly recommend lean into the unique value propositions. I would highly recommend go back to the 12 things that I mentioned early on in this call about what makes a successful agent. Set up that chat prompt and have it evaluate you on your phone calls. And I will tell you, if you do the work, if you put the phone calls in, make the connections, and you evaluate yourself, and I'm going to say, even if you just did it once a week, I've done it with clients and I've critiqued myself a lot, and it's pretty shocking what you can learn about yourself. Some things I scored better on than I thought I did. And some things taught me what I needed to change.
Thank you, Kevin. Great job.
Yeah, that was great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Have a great
Great
afternoon. Go kill it.
All right, bud. Talk to you.
You know,
See ya.
Hey, Kevin.